good kid was. I saw that and I was like, I could totally get away with that. I could do way better than these fools. Anyways, enough about cops and TV shows in my young age. We are here today for Tech Tuesday. And what we're talking about today is the new Segway. I don't know, it's actually not new. Been out for a couple years, right? Yeah, but we're going to be talking about the Segway and our first look at it and what we thought about it. But in order to do that, we got to go over to Justin Smith.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate the introduction. You guys, Segway's been out for a little while, but to us, it's fairly new. We haven't gotten very many of these things in. And one of the coolest things is that the guys over at Segway want to put their money where their mouth is, and they sent us over a brand new one. Well, brand new 122, right? So it's new this year, but it's not a 23, which are out right now.
They have a new updated model coming out.
Yep, and that's Ernie, by the way, who loves to be on camera.
Hate it.
So we conned him into doing it, but actually Mitch and Ernie got a chance to go out and drive this today. Literally pulled it off the trailer and pulled the tires off of it 5 minutes ago. That's why we're a little bit late. So this is not a review. We are going to have this thing for a long time. We're going to spend a lot of time with it, developing parts and kind of working with Segway themselves and the vehicle to develop some stuff for you guys. But this is kind of a first impression, having driven it a whole of 10 miles. So take that into consideration as we're telling you a little bit about what we think. And to go with that, I'm going to start with Ernie, since he's nervous on the camera. Ernie and Mitch both had a chance to drive this today, right? You guys took off, went over to the boulders, and tried to miss all the mud puddles from the rain lately. What was the thing that was in your mind before you even drove it? You know, with this sitting here and maybe what you've heard of these beforehand, your predisposed opinions, preconceptions that maybe other customers have given us. Let's start with that.
I honestly put it on the trailer thinking that we were going to go and drive the car and be kind of let down a little bit. Didn't really have high hopes for the car, to be honest with you, right off the bat. But
why is that? I mean, from what you see or what you hear, or what is it?
I think that's mostly just because it has nothing to do with Segway being the name. It's probably more to do with this being their first car that they put in the market, right? So we don't have like a sample of anything else that we've driven, to where normally we throw other cars on a trailer that we've had history with, or products that we've had history with, and we kind of have an idea of how we think it should perform, or how the last one performed. So this is definitely super, super new to us, and we didn't have high hopes to start. So,
well, I mean, as a first start, we've got OEMs that have been in this for 10, 15 years and have some time in it, right? So I think that the average guy that have already owned a few vehicles already, you know, they're not going to give it very much credit being the new guy on the block.
Correct, and that's that's exactly kind of how. Are you same way?
Yeah. I mean, I was intrigued for sure. Yeah. I was wanting to see what it would do because. Oh, sorry, got it. Can you hear me now? I was definitely intrigued. It was just by looking at it, kind of seemed like it did have some potential for sure. Yeah, just kind of sitting there looking at it, and then driving it, I was kind of blown away, to be honest with you.
You know, before you get to driving it, how about describe some of the stuff that you guys saw when it was sitting in the shop? You know, on the ground, what were the things that you noticed right away? I mean, I'll say one thing. I mean, it looks a lot like a lot of it is borrowed off of an X3 when it comes to triple radius rod, pivoting rear hub. Maybe you can get over there and show that off a little bit. That rear hub on the back is definitely Can-Am-ish design, and with a toe link control to try and minimize toe change through travel. I mean, it looks very similar to stuff we've seen in the past. And if you look at the front design is also very similar to that style of vehicle. Also, front diff, placement of some of the pivot points, arm design, very similar to things we've seen. So obviously a lot has been borrowed here, and that's what I saw at first. And that's a really good platform to try and pull some information from, right? We race it, and everybody likes an X3. That's what I saw. What did you guys think when you first saw it?
I was probably along the same lines of that. Like staring at the front spindle, it looks rather small, but rather than it being aluminum, it's actually made out of steel. So I don't know how that equates to But I mean, just look-wise, it looked a little small.
And remember, we haven't dug into this thing
No,
yet.
we
This
don't.
is literally like walking
This
around
is just
a car.
walking around and going, I wonder, you know. And we've seen parts fail before on other cars, with no experience on this car. So
So steel hubs instead of aluminum. We don't know what we've got for bearings and axle design and hubs and things like and diffs and things like that. We haven't gone there yet. But visually, it looks like a lot has been borrowed from the X3, which is great. And but still didn't know what to expect. Mitch, what did you think when you first walked around this thing?
I agree with both of you. I saw a lot of X3 stuff too, similar feeling there, but which is also kind of cool because it's kind of known, I guess, if you will.
Good platform.
So yeah, you kind of have something to judge off of, if you will. But definitely gave me that vibe. I mean, when I first walked up to it, I saw the radius rods and I was like, right away, you know, nobody else is doing a triple radius rod. So, and then walking around it more, you kind of picked out certain things that stood out. Just
So
like an X3.
2-cylinder, how much horsepower?
105.
105, yep.
105,000 cc.
1,000 cc.
Belt is on the passenger side.
Yeah, so that's opposite from most, if not all, UTVs out there on the market right now.
It's just a visual thing. Who
Yep,
cares?
visual thing. Nope.
But it does remind you of the early Wildcat.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were thinking about too. I believe the early Wildcat has a belt on the passenger side, but early Wildcat rode really nice too, right out the gate. So, yeah, definitely comparable.
So drove it around the block, got some feel for the horsepower and the torque. What was the first impressions there?
First impression there on the power wise, on the torque wise. Well,
Why are you laughing, Mitch?
Because you couldn't hear anything when you
Yeah.
drove it.
So this is a 22 model. I have been informed that the 23 model has some changes coming. But anyways, they're going to kind of rechange the ducting of this intake right here, because this intake actually is pretty damn loud when you're in the car. It probably wouldn't be too bad if we're wearing helmets and stuff, but just for today, we weren't. And a lot of trail riders in Arizona and people in Arizona don't. So that's something to think about too. But it does sound like Segway has moved into the direction of fixing that. Power-wise, I mean, for being in a car, it actually runs really damn good. It runs really good. I was actually
what would
very
you compare
surprised.
it to? Power-wise.
Honestly, a stock XP1000, a stock like 900, or an XP1000, a 900S. I think it's very comparable to that. I have not personally driven the Can-Am 64 with the 900 motor in it. That's non-turbo. I haven't driven that, so I don't know how to compare it to that. But I thought for sure it was going to lack in the power side. Now, it's not a turbo. It's not going to be something that I think you're going to throw paddles on this thing and blow up Oldsmobile Hill. But
compared to other normally
I
aspirated.
think it compares. I really think it compares. I think it's right there. I do.
That's awesome.
Bottom end feel. Top end was a little different in my opinion, but bottom end feel was very
Really
similar
torquey?
to
Yeah,
very
it
torquey.
comes out of the hole good.
When you want to get out of a corner or whatever, it's pretty cool. And then a 4-wheel drive lock is also pretty sweet too. So
Awesome. So you guys took it out to the test area, went straight for some whoops and other stuff. Describe that.
Actually pretty impressive. Mitch drove it first. I was just doing some filming and video and stuff and pictures, and he blew past me. I was like, I think actually he's riding pretty good for what it was. Car's super plush. We haven't really dove into these shocks. These are an off-brand shock. Obviously, at this price point for this vehicle, they're trying to make this thing as affordable as possible and cheap as possible. So this isn't a name brand shock on this car, but it does work pretty good. I'm excited to pull them apart and see what they're all about. But as far as the whoops and the rough that we were hitting, I was actually pretty damn impressed. Not only from outside the car, seeing him driving it, but us both being in the car, and then me also driving it solo.
So about the whoops, Mitch, what's your opinion there?
took it slow at first just to kind of see what the car was capable of, what it would do, what it felt like, because you don't want to just go gung-ho right away and drive this thing as fast as possible. So took it out, cruised it. It actually felt like it was handling it pretty good, so stepped it up a little bit, and I came back with a smile on my face and was very impressed with what it was capable of doing. They're probably, what, 3 foot whoops out there in some spots?
Yeah.
So nothing like super crazy, but enough to make the car work and see what it's going to do. So Couple pucker moments, throwing it into something that was like we're used to throwing anything else into, right? So you throw this into it, and you're like holding on, and it actually took it pretty well, and it rode pretty decent.
So you guys were
impressed.
actually really surprised, but you kind of went into this not thinking very much of it, not expecting very much from it, and then were kind of blown away from that standpoint.
Truth, yeah, definitely. We've been driving a lot of Rangers and Generals and Defenders and stuff recently too. But this thing is still extremely capable. It is way more capable than that stuff, night and day, way more capable than that stuff. But yeah, our habits were driving that out there a little bit differently than we have in the past. So it was nice to actually step it up.
How would you describe like cornering and overall like turn ability?
Probably the lightest, tightest, and nimblest car I think I've driven in a long time. There's a really cool spot out there that has a bunch of moguls and really tight whoops that are spaced pretty close together. And a lot of two-seat cars kind of get unhappy, if you will, driving them through there. Kind of
Because the tire's off the ground.
got to slow it down a little bit. This thing was like,
It was actually fun in there.
it was fun to drive
was a lot
through
of fun in there.
It stayed on the ground. It was just impressive. Like I said,
It had a little extension clunk in there, like in the front, but other than that, it was.
yeah, like
You were saying that it was a really tight and quiet feel, other than the air cleaner noise on the street. But as soon as you got in the dirt, you're like, this thing's tight and
It's
quiet.
tight and quiet. It is, and this isn't a brand new car, so I don't know exactly how many miles are on it, but it has some miles on
I
it.
got
so we
100,
could actually
150
check.
miles on it.
Is that it?
something like that, yeah.
But it's still nice and tight, and but it does have a little bit of an extension clunk in the front. And mind you, we did not even mess with shock adjustments. So they're, depending on these shocks, they do have rebound adjustments in them and some free bleed adjustments. So it's possible we can get that noise out of it. But I mean, right off the trailer, it's.
The doors don't rattle, the seats don't rattle, the suspension is nice and tight. And it was, like I said, we were looking for something to kind of, bring a big negative just because that's what we thought when we looked at it, but driving it was completely
Yeah,
different.
we definitely thought we were going to have a list of negatives.
So are you saying that your initial, your thoughts were completely changed after driving it?
I would say so, in a big way. I would honestly, in a really big way. I was thinking this was going to be because Segway's trying to price us appropriately, right? They're trying to get more people in our industry.
What is the retail?
I think retail for this car is at right around $19,000, and I'm trying to understand if that's out the door or if that is sticker price.
Remember, you guys, we didn't do a ton of research on
Yeah,
this. We
we-
drove it, and we drove this thing. I didn't drive it. They drove this thing,
Yeah.
and now we're talking about
Yeah,
it. And that's
19.3, somewhere right around there.
kind of the idea. We didn't want to come with a ton of stats yet. That's what a review is for. We're not doing that. We're just kind of diarrhea of the mouth immediately without holding anything back and telling you guys what we thought.
I think it's funny too, because like everybody who's seen this thing just around the shop, they're like, a Segway? They kind of look at it like,
Is it electric?
this thing's weird. Yeah, that's the number one question. Is it electric? Is it
It
like,
needs a mall cop license plate.
Paul Blart?
yeah.
just kind of, getting everybody's reaction and then going and driving it and seeing, damn, this is
Yeah.
actually, it's pretty cool.
I think it fits a need. It is entry level price, but it's not entry level performance. I don't see that at all.
Good way to put it.
Yeah, I do think that the price is appetizing. I think people will be jumping at it for the price reasons and driving the car and thinking that they have something inferior compared to maybe like a Polaris model or something like that that's a little more expensive, or a Can-Am that's a little more expensive.
Not true.
Without knowing what they have. Like this thing is very capable. It impressed the hell out of me for sure.
You guys were talking about how it felt extremely light in the corners, but it felt heavy in the whoops, meaning that it was plush in the whoops. It stayed planted, but you could really whip it.
Yeah, we weighed it. It was
1915.
1915. Yeah,
The way this sits.
yeah. So I would have said it weighed 16. Me personally, I would have said it weighed in the 16s. But it doesn't drive light as far as how it acts in the whoops.
It's plush.
It's plush. It's not aggressive.
But
on
it
any
corners
of the,
like a
any of the stuff.
1,600-pound car.
And it corners really good too. Yeah, it was a ton of fun in the wash. A ton of fun.
What did you guys get a chance to crawl it yet? I don't think so, right?
No, so again, I don't have all the spare parts for this and things like that, but we drove it pretty hard for, I would say, a good solid hour. And when we got to the spot where we were going to crawl it, I put it in low, we were going to crawl it, and I got some belt smell. which does happen. So, but we don't have spare belts. I don't have any spare parts or anything, so we kind of ended it right there. But this is just a start. We're going to jump into this thing and really see what it's all about. Like Justin was saying earlier, we're going to make some products for this thing. Driving it on the trailer this morning, going to our spot where we were driving it, I was thinking for sure we probably weren't going to spend a lot of time making parts on this car, doing a lot of other things, and I have a totally different opinion now. I really, really do.
Because the car's worth it.
I think a lot of people. I think this suits the need for a ton of people in our industry. Absolutely.
Very cool. Steve, have you got any questions on there that are worth jumping into?
People are asking where are these made? I believe Texas. I don't remember exactly where in Texas, but it is in Texas, correct?
I believe these are made in China.
Well, but the headquarters is in Texas.
Yeah, there is a headquarters for Segway USA.
Segway USA,
yeah.
that's what it is.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
let's not jump into that if we don't know. Let's
Yeah.
just leave that
And
out.
then
Yeah.
people want to know. They want to see the inside.
Yeah.
They want to see the. It's got a big dash on it.
Yeah.
A big electronic screen.
Turn a key on.
Mm-hmm. Ernie, what was the interior like as far as fit, finish, and your driver feel?
Honestly, on the passenger side, it was super comfortable. It has good grab handles. Your feet aren't flopping around. They have spaces for your feet to be. Super comfortable. I'm not in love with the seat belts that come factory on this, but let's get real. Most people are getting rid of seat belts. Anyways, that's an accessory that's pretty much right out the gate. I did like in driving the car, the display is super awesome to read. Segway's been in electronics forever, so
You'd expect some nice
I would
stuff.
expect this, and it is really, really nice. This car doesn't have a ton of the features that this actual center display will actually do, like speakers and some other things. But it's obvious that it's built into where options are there too.
You had a PTT button.
Yeah, so right here, I don't know exactly what this is, but if you see this button on the side of the shifter, it does say PTT. In our world, that's push to talk.
So maybe you set up for a radio?
So that would be freaking cool. Like if they get a radio in this car and it's got something pre-wired underneath the dash that you could just hook up your driver push to talk to, and it's right there. That's
Awesome.
really cool.
Steve, you got a question for us?
No, I just wanted to say Segway Power Sports USA just tuned in and said they are manufactured in China and the headquarters are in Texas.
All right, so you guys
that's-
had that.
That's
We
where
got
we're
it.
at.
Awesome.
Nailed it. Awesome.
And
Yep.
hey,
And it is push to talk.
It is
Awesome.
push to talk.
It is
there
push
we
to
go.
talk.
Yeah, awesome.
Well,
Awesome.
and we apologize. We don't have all the list of things that we should be talking about to give you guys, all the details. This is just first drive, first impression, very quick, and we'll give you a full detail with all of the little minor things that add up to big things. We'll list all of that later on.
We're gonna have some cool videos of this car.
You guys already had cool videos this morning. I mean,
Yeah,
you had
just
this
playing
thing going
around.
through the whoops,
Yeah.
like big stuff with the tire on the ground the whole time. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, Steve.
Somebody just added a question. It just says Fox shocks?
Question mark?
Question mark?
From the outside, and that's the only thing we've seen, they look definitely Fox-ish. But that's as far as we can say right there. So we'll be inside of them and let you know a little bit more about them.
I am pretty sure we will have something
some
somewhere
aftermarket?
somehow soonish.
Oh, is that what the question
was the
was? I'm
No.
sorry.
These are not Fox shocks. The question was, are we
Will there
going?
be
Will there
some?
be Fox shocks? I guess it's a
Absolutely.
possibility.
Yeah, I think that is definitely going to be the case. No problem with that. How about some other stuff? Do you guys?
Do you want to go through our list of positives and negatives that we had?
So, right off the bat, I think sitting
Careful.
sitting passenger, I don't like that the doors are open on the bottom.
Meaning that you can get stuff through the open.
Yeah, so I do like,
Really good at keeping
and
that side clean.
Ernie mentioned it, I do like being able to see the tire. I think that's pretty cool. But if you're riding through like mud or water or even rocky stuff, there's a chance that a rock or anything can get kicked up inside there.
So you'd like to see a lower door section option.
Yeah, personally, I would.
And it has some stuff in it, so I'm going to say that that is an option.
Look like you can bolt some
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think you'd have to
Yeah.
grab the list.
Yeah.
I'll let Ernie explain.
Why don't
his
we
favorite
go
part.
down our list here,
But,
because we made a detailed list of some things that we did and didn't like. Do you want to do negatives first?
Sure. It's a pretty
Positives,
short list,
negatives?
right?
It's a very short list. So doors we talked about. Seatbelts we talked about. Seatbelts are, again, a very standard thing that 90% of people take out of their cars. I mean, I think the first car I didn't take a seatbelt out of was a Pro R. So, I mean, fair, right? So, engine noise in the cab. I know we talked about that. That is a real thing.
But it's fixed in 23.
Sounds like they've got it handled. I'd love to drive that car and get a new opinion on that for sure. 4x4 lock in slow, or in low only. So we messed with the four-wheel drive a little bit. They do have a four-wheel drive open, right? They have a four-wheel drive open option, which you can go full speed with. But what we noticed is when we put it into like four-wheel lock, which is how Mitch and I would race our Can-Am, we would race it in four lock. You can't drive those speeds, so they limit you down. They limit you down speed-wise.
It has a speed limiter, or it just takes the four-wheel drive lock out?
Either an RPM limiter or speed limiter, but
okay.
You could
It's
probably
it's like governed almost.
like 10 miles an hour or something like that.
So if you're in lock, they're expecting you to be rock crawling. They don't expect you to be racing
exactly.
it, which is kind of what we are all doing in any of the desert racing is four-wheel.
You are faster in four-wheel lock, period.
Yes.
I mean, even in the dunes, you were faster in the dunes. So you couldn't do that in this model as of right now. So let's see, extension clunk in the front shocks. Again, we did not mess with any tuning. We didn't mess with any shocks at all. We didn't do anything yet. So I don't even know that that's really a problem. And it's not aggressive. It's just annoying. It's just noticeable, right?
Those are also things that we were like really thinking about hard.
Oh
like,
yeah,
put
we
onto
thought
the
we were going to have a
of
list of negatives that were just like, here's this giant list of negatives. And that's what a lot of people feel too. But it's just not. Like, I'm even going to lug pattern. I believe this is a Yamaha lug pattern. I'd love it to be Can-Am or Polaris. That is just because there's more units like that in our side of the world.
So that you have wheel choice.
You have more
so
wheel
that you've got
choices and
spare
options.
issue.
Yeah.
All those things are easier to get.
Plus, it's also cool when you're upgrading a car or something. You can take wheels with you. It's a huge expense. So if you're talking, $2,000 to $4,000, you don't have to spend on your upgraded model. It's pretty cool to be able to take that stuff with you.
Ernie, real quick, you were talking about speed and everything like that. Everyone wants to know, what is the top speed? Do you know?
We were talking about doing that. We will give you info on that next time because we'll hit the road with it and see what we can come up with. I know that through
in the whoops, you guys were like
40s and 50s.
Yeah,
I would
which
say
is
we're 40s
impressive
and
in those whoops because they're
impressive,
big.
very impressive. Especially when you're kind of concerned and you're just driving the car and then you look down and you're like, oh, we're going 45. It was actually super impressive. And then this last one, as far as a negative, it really isn't a negative. I do want to talk to the Segway guys and understand a little bit more about this. But as you go faster in the car, it seems like the steering gets tighter. So
Less power system.
like it pulls power from the system and the steering gets slower. So I don't know if that's built in that way. I know, Justin, you were talking about there's some street cars that actually do that.
Yeah, most on-road vehicles, especially electric power steering stuff these days, start pulling the power away when you're on the freeway, because you don't want that twitchy, easy lane change. You want it to kind of be something more slower and require a lot more effort. But when you drive slower, you got more power. So we were wondering if that was actually done on purpose with this.
I didn't really experience much feedback problems in the wheel. I know Mitch was saying that a couple times he did experience that. We'll cycle this thing. We'll check bump steer on it. We'll see what we're working with. But I didn't really mind how it tightened up as we were going faster. It felt like the car kind of came together a little bit more. But that's what I have for negatives. Do you have anything else you want to throw at it?
That's a pretty short list.
That is legitimately all I have. So
Positives.
on the positive sides, so we basically said this thing is extremely capable. For this being an entry-level price, this is a mid-range capable car. It's a non-turbo car, so you got to understand.
You got to compare it to XPs.
You got to compare it to what it compares to.
Right.
So it is extremely capable in the non-turbo range of vehicles. Super, super, super impressed. It's super comfortable to drive. The seating arrangement, your feet, where your feet are in the car, knees are in the car, you're very comfortable in the cab, one or two people. And the nimbleness made it feel like a 1,600-pound car, but it's a 1,900-pound car. So, those are big positives for us. I have in here that we were impressed with the power that it had. Again, relating it to other NAs out there. Super impressed. We thought it was going to be a dog, like completely. We did not know what to expect, but we didn't think it was going to have the power that it definitely has. Let's see. Another positive, and we've said it already, it was tight and quiet besides the intake noise in your ears.
Which is temporary.
Temporary, so that's pretty much handled. I love the fact this has a parking brake. I
You know
really
what?
do.
Parking brake's like one of the little things that's a comfort in life that's nice.
Well, it's just like we're in Arizona. I could drive this to work. We could have this on the street every day, and people do. And honestly, you're supposed to have some sort of parking brake to be street legal. So I really like the parking brake. I think it's a really good feature. In this class of vehicle, it doesn't exist. It really doesn't. You see everyone with that weird metal red thing that you push the pedal in and you
to
latch
lock the
that
brake
over.
pedal.
And, so I thought that was a pretty cool addition. On the stock form, I have that it rides super plush. We commented about the push to talk already.
Yep. Which is awesome that it's pre-wired.
Oh, also, come over here, Josh. Look at this real quick. I don't know if you can see it, but I like to, ever since we've raced, I hated it before, but I love it now. I love to 2-foot the car. So, and what I mean by that is driving with a foot on the brake and a foot on the gas. This car actually is super comfortable for that. It has a good spot for you to put your foot, and you can move your foot directly over to the brake pedal super easy. And then
Where
it doesn't.
this spot right here and the pedal are even, so
they're
it's
even.
easy,
So
easy
you could
place
be in the middle of those two, and it's really, really nice. Also, a lot of other factory cars, what I've witnessed is when you're playing with the gas pedal and the brake pedal at the same time, it kind of wigs out the car and puts it in like a limp mode.
Yep.
Not like a solid limp mode, but it'll flip it out for like seconds.
Yeah.
And then and this one didn't do that to me at all. So I don't know if I was just lucky when I was driving it and it wasn't doing it, or if it's just not built in. So I really, really, really like that.
Having it not built in is badass.
Yeah,
Really
absolutely. Well, in a lower horsepower car, if you're comparing this to a turbo, you're hanging out with your buddies in the desert and you're trying to keep up with everybody. You're trying to be fast in the corners. So you are on both brake and gas at the same time. So, and again, that's just me, but I think that's a really cool positive. Mitch was mentioning that he likes the fact that it's got the same tire front and rear. And I believe the same wheel too.
One spare.
One spare for the whole car. That's awesome.
I like a narrow tire, too.
I like a narrow tire as well.
They drive better, I think.
Yeah, this thing connects to the ground so perfect. Like it is not squirrely by any means. And then I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but what we will do is we'll pull this wheel apart. But I believe they're actually real true beadlocks too. And
Not just visual.
for an entry level car, like to have like factory beadlocks on it is actually super impressive.
Material there, so we're wondering if that's two-piece or not.
I think
We'll find out.
We'll find out for sure. But that's basically our list right now. I think as we go and as we start playing with more aspects of this car and getting more miles under it, I think both lists will grow. But I'm pretty confident that the positive is going to grow more than the negative.
It's a pretty good list. Steve, you got some other questions on there?
There's a couple people that want to know, which I don't know if we even have the answers. Is there a bus bar on this to be able to add accessories?
That's a great question.
I would think somewhere under the dash over here somewhere. I don't know.
I would say if they're taking the time to throw a push-to-talk in the shifter,
Probably
I think
has
they're understanding that people are going to accessorize these cars.
Yeah.
And then also, a lot of people are kind of digging this. They want to know where they can go see one.
I believe
correct?
all the Ride Nows in town have them. I know Ride Now Surprise. I've seen one in there.
As far as other states are concerned, I'm not sure, but maybe call Segway and ask who's your local dealer in the state.
And we'll try to get more information from these guys too.
You know, I'd like to add, when you're talking about getting information from them, I'd like to add something, and I just think it is awesome that they sent us a car and basically said, just flog this thing. Run it as hard as you can. You know, you guys want to roll some stuff or blow some stuff up, we'll send you parts. So it's just,
What did he tell you, Steve, that he'll send you?
He told me, he said, well, I think he heard about my roll, so he said he'd send me a new car. But he said, dude, blow the motor up, we'll send you a brand new motor. Like, no big deal. And then Ernie, they just chimed in, bead locks are real from factory, confirmed.
Boom.
Awesome. That's
Look at
awesome. That's impressive for entry-level pricing and
It is,
not
'cause
entry-level car.
That expense is high. You know, that's
it is.
times 4, and it
It
adds
is.
up eventually. And you know, nobody really wants to pay more for anything. So, but you're getting a lot.
Yeah.
I just think it's awesome that they believe in sending it out there, letting us run it, and give an honest opinion, and we're definitely going to do that. This is very, very quick. Keep that in mind, you guys. We'll have a full tilt review later. Steve.
People are tuning in saying, too, that it's super rad that Segway tuned in to our live feed to be able to chat with the customers,
I mean,
too.
they
That's
actually,
pretty awesome. They've been involved since the beginning.
they care about what everybody is talking about and thinking and wanting to know and the questions that people have.
You know, and since they reached out to us and said, hey, we're going to drop off a car and let you guys do your thing, say what you want to say, do what you want to do. They want us to criticize what the car is. They really want to know about the car. They've been great to deal with. They've been great on the phone. Shane has reached out to me and said, hey, dude, I'm going to send you parts. So we're going to get belts. We're going to get axles. We're going to get that stuff.
Then we can take it on long rips and multiple days.
Yeah.
And
I'd like
give
to
you
see you
great
guys
feedback.
take this thing to Mexico and pre-run it. Like that. You want to put it through some paces?
We'll be in San Felipe in 3 weeks. Let's take it down there.
Yeah, well, I might not be done with some products yet.
Okay.
So.
I say we take it.
Yeah, well, yeah, let Tony drive it. Or
Thanks for
maybe
not
Steve.
putting.
Maybe Steve.
There we go. Okay, there we go.
One of the two.
A couple people wanted to point out too, just throwing it out there, that the Segway came out before the Speed UTV. Just throwing that out there.
Just there's that.
Just that. But they want to know about a 4-seater, and Segway just tuned in. There is not a 4-seater available yet, just 2-seat.
Segway, thanks for answering the questions
Yeah,
that we
that's
do
really,
not
really,
have
really
answers
cool.
for. Really appreciate that.
really cool.
You know, we just literally drove it, and we're sending this without much preparation. So
But we didn't even wipe it down.
No, on purpose. There it
Yeah,
is.
we didn't even wipe it down. Like right off the trailer.
Well, you guys did a great job on bringing your opinion back from a very short run. It's got 168 miles, so you guys put 15 on it, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
149 when we left.
All
Yeah,
right,
we put
well,
15 miles on it.
Yeah, almost 20. But for the first take, that's really, really good information. And it is exciting, honestly, to know that there's something in the market that's actually going to have some legs. It's got potential to do some really good things.
It's a good platform for us to be building products on for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was going to be the direction that we wanted to be on this thing. Definitely go in that direction.
Bitchin'. Steve, you got any other good questions real quick?
Nothing else in here. Is everyone wanting to look for them and hear a further review, an actual review?
Okay, well, we will definitely do that, you guys, but as we always do, we don't do that without a lot of miles. We're going to put hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, on it before we even talk about that kind of stuff. Hell, we haven't even put together a Pro R review yet, and I got 3,000 miles on mine, so we won't wait that long, trust me. But Mitch and Ernie, thank you very much for giving us everything after that. Steve, thank you very much for monitoring all the questions. You guys, first drive, first look, really positive. Whatever you think of these to begin with, you can throw it out the window because they are starting to impress in a lot of ways. Thanks for the Segway guys for bringing it and letting us play with it. We got more to come. Steve, why don't you send it out?
Guys, stay tuned for some Segway products in the future. But if you're looking to buy any of our other products, visit www.shocktherapyusa.com or call us 623-217-4959.